When stars remember what worlds forget. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the massive viewing port of the UES horizon, watching the ancient space station grow larger against the star-filled darkness. The Nexus core was bigger than any human structure, its crystalline spires reaching out like the arms of some cosmic cathedral. After decades of radio contact, humanity was finally meeting the stellar assembly face-to-face. Dr. Marcus Webb joined her at the window, his weathered hands clutching a tablet filled with archaeological data. The 50-year-old scientist had spent his life studying ancient civilizations on Earth, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Behind them, Commander Zara Okafor checked her sidearm one final time, her dark eyes scanning the approaching station for any signs of threat. The communications officer turned from her station. "Captain, we're receiving docking instructions. The Vorthak are directing us to Bay 7. Sarah nodded, straightening her blue diplomatic uniform. The Vorthak Empire controlled this sector of space, and their empress had personally agreed to welcome humanity into the galactic community. It was an honor, they had been told, rarely granted to such young species. The docking procedure was smooth, and soon the three humans found themselves walking through corridors that defied comprehension. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light, and the air hummed with energy that made their skin tingle. Strange symbols covered every surface, flowing like water but somehow permanent. Their escort was a tall, insectoid creature with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the corridor lights like jewels. "I am Kythran, scholar of the 3rd Circle," it said through a translation device. "The Empress waits in the chamber of first meetings." As they walked, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he had seen some of these symbols before. The flowing patterns reminded him of something, but he couldn't place what. He discreetly took photos with his tablet, hoping to study them later. The chamber of first meetings was vast, with a domed ceiling that showed the stars beyond. In the center sat a being of incredible presence. Empress Zeltar of the Vorthak was humanoid but clearly not human, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer, and eyes like liquid gold. She was surrounded by representatives from a dozen other species, all watching the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed amusement. "Welcome, children of Earth," the Empress said, her voice carrying easily across the chamber. "We are pleased to finally meet you in person. Your species shows promise, despite your youth." Sarah stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we are honored by your welcome. Humanity looks forward to joining the galactic community and contributing to the prosperity of all worlds." A sound like chittering laughter came from some of the assembled aliens. One of them, a creature that looked like a walking tree, spoke up. "Contribute. Young species like yours have little to offer those who have sailed between stars for millennia." "The Zalani speak truth," added another alien, this one resembling a large, blue-skinned humanoid. "Your kind has barely learned to leave your birth world. The Vorthak have ruled space for 12,000 years. We ourselves have been traders among the stars for 8,000 years. Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but Sarah remained diplomatic. "We may be new to space travel, but humans have always been quick learners. We hope to prove ourselves worthy of membership in the assembly." The Empress nodded graciously. "In time, perhaps. For now, you will be granted provisional status. You may trade for basic goods and receive protection, but advanced technologies must remain beyond your reach. It is for your own safety, you understand. Young species often destroy themselves when given tools they cannot properly use." The formal ceremony continued for hours, with the humans being presented with a list of restrictions and guidelines. They could establish trade posts in certain systems, but were forbidden from accessing the core worlds where the most advanced civilizations dwelt. They could purchase basic goods, but were denied access to weapons, advanced computers, or faster-than-light communication technology. That evening, the humans were given quarters in the station's guest section. The rooms were comfortable but clearly designed for being smaller than humans. As soon as they were alone, Sarah called her team together. "Well, that was humbling," she said, settling into a chair that was too small for her frame. "Humbling?" Zara snorted. "They treated us like children asking to sit at the adult table." Marcus was studying the photos he had taken, his expression growing more puzzled by the hour. "There's something strange about this place," he said finally. These symbols, these architectural patterns. I've seen them before. That's impossible, Sarah said. No human has ever been here. I know it's impossible, Marcus replied, but look at this. He held up his tablet, showing a photo of the wall carvings. See this pattern here? The way these lines intersect. I found the exact same pattern in ruins in Peru last year. Zara leaned over to look. Could be coincidence. Maybe some shapes are just naturally appealing to intelligent minds. Marcus shook his head. It's not just one pattern. Look at this flowing script and this geometric design. I've seen variations of both in different archaeological sites on Earth. Sites that are supposed to be thousands of years old. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What are you suggesting? I'm not sure yet, Marcus said. But I think we need to learn more about the history of this place. Something doesn't add up. Over the next few days, the humans explored the station and attended various meetings with different alien species. Everyone they met treated them with the same patronizing kindness, like adults speaking to bright but naive children. The message was always the same: humanity was too young, too primitive, too dangerous to be trusted with real power or knowledge, but Marcus kept finding more evidence that troubled him. In the station's public archives, he discovered records of archaeological finds from across the galaxy. Many of them showed the same symbols and patterns he had photographed. When he asked about their origin, the aliens gave vague answers about ancient precursor species or lost civilizations that came before. The breakthrough came when Marcus was exploring the lower levels of the station. He had gotten lost trying to find the botanical gardens and found himself in what appeared to be a maintenance section. The walls here were older, made of a different material that looked almost like steel. As he tried to find his way back, his tablet began beeping. The device was picking up some kind of signal, something that made the screen flicker with interference. Following the signal, Marcus found himself in front of a wall that looked different from the others. It was covered in symbols, but these weren't the flowing alien script he had seen elsewhere. These looked almost like English, he whispered. But not quite English. It was similar, but older somehow, like seeing a language that had evolved. Along a different path, Marcus placed his hand on the wall, trying to trace the symbols. As his fingers touched the surface, the wall began to glow. Lines of light spread from where he touched, racing along patterns that had been invisible before. The air filled with a deep humming sound, and suddenly the wall became transparent, beyond. It was a chamber filled with technology that defied description. Machines that looked like nothing humans had ever built, but which somehow felt familiar. And on the walls, carved in symbols that were clearly the ancestors of human writing, was a message that made Marcus's blood run cold. This facility constructed by the Terran Colonial Authority, year 2847 of the First Age. May those who come after us learn from our mistakes. Marcus stumbled backward, his mind reeling. The First Age. That would mean this place was built by humans. But not any humans he knew about. The technology in that chamber was beyond anything current humanity could create, yet it was clearly of human origin. He ran back to find Sarah and Zara, his heart pounding. When he told them what he had found, they insisted on seeing it for themselves. The three humans made their way back to the hidden chamber, where the wall still glowed with inner light. This is impossible, Sarah said, staring at the ancient human text. Humans have only been in space for 60 years. We've never built anything like this. Asterisk. Unless we did, Marcus said quietly. Unless there was another human civilization that we've forgotten about. Zara was studying the technology with the eye of a military strategist. Look at the design principles here. The way these systems are integrated. It's human thinking, but advanced far beyond what we can do now. As they explored the chamber, they found more evidence. Computer systems that responded to human touch, databases written in archaic versions of Earth languages. And most shocking of all, genetic scanners that recognized them as having the proper authorization codes. The truth was becoming clear, and it was staggering. Sometime in the distant past, humans had not only reached the stars but had built a civilization that spanned the galaxy. They had created technology that made current human science look primitive. And somehow, all knowledge of this achievement had been lost. But why? And what had happened to those ancient humans? The answer came when Marcus managed to activate one of the computer terminals. The screen flickered to life, showing text in an ancient form of English. It was a log entry, dated thousands of years ago. Final entry, Commander Elena Vasquez. Terran Defense Force. The Civil War has torn our empire apart. Brother fights brother across 1,000 worlds. Our weapons have become so powerful that entire star systems burn. We cannot continue this path without destroying everything we have built. Sarah read over Marcus's shoulder, her voice barely a whisper. The Council has voted. We will implement the reset protocol. All our technology will be deactivated. All our cities will be abandoned. Our people will return to Earth with their memories cleansed. We will start over as a simple species, hoping that we can do better the second time. The log continued. We leave these facilities hidden but intact, locked to respond only to our genetic descendants. Perhaps one day, when humanity has grown wiser, they will find us again. Perhaps they will make better choices than we did. Marcus felt tears on his cheeks. We didn't discover space travel. We rediscovered it. We are not newcomers to the galaxy. We are the ones who built it. The implications were staggering. Every alien civilization they had met, every piece of technology they had seen, every law and custom of the galactic community had been built on foundations laid by ancient humans. The aliens who treated them like children were living in a civilization created by humanity's ancestors. But those ancestors had chosen to forget, to start over, to give their descendants a chance to avoid the mistakes that had nearly destroyed the galaxy. And now, humanity had returned to the stars, only to find their own legacy transformed beyond recognition. The question was, what would they do with this knowledge? And more importantly, were they ready to face the truth about why their ancestors had chosen to forget? As the three humans stood in the ancient chamber, surrounded by the ghosts of their forgotten past, they realized that their mission had become something far more complex than simple diplomacy. They were not just representing humanity's future among the stars. They were confronting humanity's buried past. The price of forgotten glory, the discovery of the hidden chamber, changed everything. Over the next week, Marcus worked frantically to access more of the ancient human databases while Sarah and Zara kept watch for suspicious alien activity. What they found painted a picture of a human civilization that had once dominated the galaxy, only to choose extinction over continued violence. Dr. Marcus Webb sat hunched over the ancient terminal, his eyes red from lack of sleep. The database contained thousands of files, each one revealing more about humanity's forgotten empire. The Terran Colonial Authority had controlled over 3,000 star systems at its height. They had created technologies that could reshape planets, bend space and time, and even manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Listen to this, Marcus said as Sarah entered the chamber with their morning meal. This is from the personal log of Admiral Chen Wei-Lin, written just before the reset protocol was implemented. The voice that emerged from the speakers was clearly human, but speaking in an archaic dialect that was barely recognizable. Sarah's translator device worked overtime to convert it into modern English. The Centauri rebellion has spread to 40 systems. Our own colonies are turning against Earth, using weapons we taught them to build. The Vorthak were our allies once. But now they demand independence from Terran rule. The Zalani Trade Federation wants to break free from our economic controls. Every species we uplifted, every world we brought into our empire, now sees us as oppressors rather than protectors. Sarah sat down heavily. We were the Galactic Empire. We were the ones controlling everything. Marcus nodded grimly. And apparently, we weren't very good at it. Look at this battle report. He pulled up another file. The Siege of Kepler, 442. The Terran forces used something called a stellar disruptor that caused the system's sun to go nova. Billions died, including human colonists. The logs painted a picture of an empire that had grown too powerful too quickly. Humans had spread across the galaxy, establishing colonies and trading posts, sharing their technology with alien species they encountered. But as their power grew, so did their arrogance. They began to see themselves as the natural rulers of the galaxy, the species destined to guide all others. The alien species that had once welcomed human contact began to chafe under human authority. Wars broke out, first small conflicts over trade routes and territorial disputes, then larger battles that engulfed entire sectors. And as the violence escalated, both sides developed increasingly destructive weapons. Here's the really disturbing part, Marcus said, pulling up a technical specification. They had weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Planet crackers that could split worlds in half. Bioweapons that could wipe out all life on a planet in hours. By the end, they were building machines that could unravel the fabric of space itself. Zara, who had been listening from the chamber entrance, stepped forward. So what made them stop? What made them choose the reset protocol instead of winning the war? Marcus found the answer in a file marked Final Council Session. It was a recording of the last meeting of the Terran High Command, held on Earth just before the reset was implemented. The voices were those of humans, but humans who had seen their species become something monstrous. We created this galaxy. One voice said. We brought these species into space. We taught them science, gave them technology, showed them how to build civilizations. And now we are ready to destroy it all just to maintain our power. Another voice, younger and more bitter, responded. They are our children. We raised them from primitive savages to spacefaring civilizations. If they rebel against us, we have the right to discipline them. Discipline. The first voice was horrified. You're talking about genocide. The Vorthak homeworld has 12 billion inhabitants. The Zalani have spread across 50 systems. You want to kill them all because they won't obey us. The debate went on for hours, with some members of the council advocating for total war and others pushing for negotiation. But in the end, a third option was proposed by someone whose voice Sarah recognized from earlier recordings. This is Commander Elena Vasquez speaking for the Loyalist Fleet. We propose a different solution. We will implement the reset protocol. All Terran military forces will be deactivated. All our advanced technology will be shut down and hidden. Our colonies will be abandoned, our people returned to Earth with their memories cleansed. The chamber fell silent as the recording continued. We will not destroy the galaxy to save our pride. We will not commit genocide to maintain our empire. Instead, we will give these species the chance to build their own civilization, free from our control. And we will give humanity the chance to start over, to grow up again without the burden of this war. Marcus stopped the recording. There's more. They didn't just abandon their colonies. They actively helped the alien species adapt to life without human support. They left behind technological gifts, teaching systems, even basic infrastructure. They tried to give the other species everything they needed to build their own civilizations. Sarah felt a strange mix of pride and sorrow. So the Vorthak didn't develop their technology over 12,000 years. They inherited it from us. Then adapted it over time. All of them did, Marcus confirmed. The Zalana trading networks, the Corvana military systems, even the basic principles of faster-than-light travel. It's all based on human technology that was left behind during the reset. But there was something else in the files, something that made Marcus's blood run cold. The reset protocol hadn't just involved memory wipes and technological shutdown. It had included a deeper modification, something that the ancient humans had called the genetic lock. ***. They didn't trust us to stay primitive, Marcus said, his voice shaking. They modified our own DNA to suppress certain capabilities. They wanted to make sure that when we redeveloped technology, we would do it slowly, carefully, without the rapid acceleration that had led to the war. Sarah stared at him. You're saying they deliberately made us less than we were? Not less. Different. Look at this genetic analysis. Marcus pulled up a complex chart. Modern humans have the same basic DNA as the ancient Terrans, but with specific sequences locked away. Sequences that control things like psychic abilities, enhanced intelligence, extended lifespans. The ancient humans had capabilities we can barely imagine. Zara stepped closer to the screen. But if they locked these abilities away, how do we access the technology? How were you able to activate these systems? Marcus smiled grimly. Because they built in a failsafe. When humans developed space travel on their own, when they proved they could reach the stars through their own efforts, the locks would begin to release. We are not the same as we were before the reset, but we are starting to remember what we are capable of. As if to prove his point, Marcus placed his hand on another section of the wall. This time, the response was immediate and dramatic. The entire chamber filled with light, and suddenly the walls became transparent, revealing the true scope of the ancient facility. It wasn't just a hidden room. It was a massive underground complex that extended for miles beneath the alien station. And everywhere they looked, there were signs of human technology, human architecture, human engineering. The Nexus core itself was built on the foundation of an ancient human space station. They didn't just hide their technology, Sarah whispered. The aliens built their entire civilization on top of ours. The revelation was overwhelming, but it was also dangerous. As the ancient systems came online, they began broadcasting signals that could be detected by the aliens above. Within hours, Empress Zeltar herself arrived in the lower levels, accompanied by a full security detail. The Empress stood at the entrance to the chamber, her golden eyes wide with shock and fear. "What have you done?" she whispered. "What have you awakened?" Sarah stepped forward, her diplomatic training taking over despite the extraordinary circumstances. "Your Majesty, we can explain. We've discovered something about the history of this station, about the relationship between our species." "Lies," the Empress said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Humans are a young species. You have been in space for barely a century." Marcus activated one of the displays, showing the genetic analysis that proved the connection between modern humans and the ancient Terrans. "We are the same species that built this station. We are the ones who created the technology your civilization is based on." The effect on the assembled aliens was immediate and dramatic. Some of them fell to their knees, recognizing the implications. Others began arguing among themselves in languages that the translation devices couldn't keep up with. But Empress Zeltar simply stared at the display, her face cycling through expressions of disbelief, recognition, and finally, terror. "If you are truly the builders," she said slowly, "then you have returned to reclaim what is yours. You have come to restore your empire." Sarah shook her head. "No, Your Majesty. We have no interest in ruling the galaxy. We came here seeking friendship and cooperation, not dominance." "But you are awakening the ancient systems," Scholar Kytha said, his insectoid form trembling. "The legends speak of the builders' return. Of the day when the sleeping giants would wake and reclaim their inheritance." It was true. All across the galaxy, human genetic signatures were triggering dormant systems that had been waiting for thousands of years. Ancient facilities were coming online, broadcasting signals that identified themselves as Terran installations. Alien governments were panicking as they realized that their most secure facilities, their most advanced technologies, were all built on human foundations, but Marcus had found something else in the ancient databases, something that offered hope. "There's another protocol," he said, pulling up a new file. "Something called the Inheritance Clause." Commander Vasquez and the other architects of the reset didn't just plan for humanity's return. They planned for what would happen when we found the aliens living in our old empire. The file contained detailed instructions for what the ancient humans called the peaceful transition. If humanity chose to reclaim their technology, they could do so gradually, working with the existing alien governments rather than displacing them. The goal was not to restore the old empire, but to create something new, a true partnership between species. "We don't want to be your rulers," Sarah said, addressing the assembled aliens. "Our ancestors tried that, and it led to war and suffering. We want to be your partners, to build something better than what came before." But the choice wasn't just humanity's to make. The alien species had to decide whether they could accept the truth about their history, whether they could work with the descendants of the species that had once dominated them. Some, like Empress Zeltar, were willing to try. "The Vorthak have ruled this sector for millennia," she said. "But we have always known that our rule was built on the gifts of those who came before. If you are truly those builders returned, then perhaps it is time for a new arrangement. Others were less accepting. The Zalana representative, a crystalline being named Vashtor, spoke for many when he said, "How can we trust a species that once conquered the galaxy? How do we know you won't try to dominate us again?" Sarah looked at Marcus and Zara, then back at the assembled aliens. "Because we are not the same humans who left here thousands of years ago. We've grown up again, learned from our own history, even if we didn't remember it. We've built a civilization based on cooperation and mutual respect, not conquest and control." She gestured to the ancient technology around them. "Our ancestors gave up ultimate power rather than use it to destroy others. They chose to forget their own glory rather than repeat their mistakes. That's the legacy we carry, not the empire they abandoned." The debate that followed lasted for days. Representatives from dozens of species gathered at the Nexus Core to discuss the implications of humanity's return. Some wanted to maintain the status quo, pretending that nothing had changed. Others pushed for humanity to be given a leadership role, recognizing their ancient heritage, but in the end, it was Marcus who proposed the solution that would reshape the galaxy. "We don't reclaim our old empire," he said. "We don't restore human dominance. Instead, we create something new. A true galactic federation where every species has an equal voice, where human technology serves everyone, not just humans." The ancient databases contained blueprints for technologies that could solve the galaxy's greatest problems. Medical advances that could extend the lifespan of every species. Agricultural systems that could end hunger on 1,000 worlds. Energy sources that could power civilizations for millennia without harming their environments. "This is our gift to the galaxy," Sarah said in the final council session. "Not conquest, but collaboration. Not dominance, but partnership. We've been given a second chance to do better than our ancestors. Let's not waste it." The vote was close, but in the end, the Stellar Assembly agreed to the new arrangement. Humanity would share their rediscovered technology freely, helping to advance every member species. In return, they would take their place as equal partners in a truly galactic civilization. As the UES Horizon prepared to return to Earth with news of the new alliance, Sarah stood once more at the viewing port, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, ancient human installations were coming online, ready to serve a galaxy that had moved beyond the mistakes of the past. Marcus joined her, carrying a data pad filled with the coordinates of hidden facilities across the galaxy. "Do you think we are making the right choice?" he asked. "Our ancestors built an empire that spanned the galaxy. We could have that again." Sarah smiled. "Our ancestors also chose to give up that empire rather than destroy the galaxy. They were wise enough to know that true strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. I think they would be proud of what we are building." Behind them, Zara was already planning the next phase of their mission. There were installations to reactivate, technologies to share, and a new chapter of galactic history to write. Humanity had returned to the stars not as conquerors, but as gardeners, ready to help their ancient children grow into something greater than any empire could ever be. The galaxy had been waiting for the builders to return. But what they got instead was something far more valuable: teachers, partners, and friends who had learned that the greatest legacy was not what you built, but what you chose to leave behind.